Welcome to Unpacked, the podcast that examines how technology is reshaping business and our world, with this season unpacking the topic of generative AI. The show is produced by Think Tank at Lab 45, Wipro's Innovation Lab. My name's Stuart Black, and I'm joined, as ever, by voice of the show, Think Tank's innovation lead, Arvind Ravishankar. Arvind, where are you today?
Hey, happy to say I'm back home. Was in Australia, before that was in India, but happy to be back in my studio with my recording settings and comfortable to chat.
Good to have you back in familiar surroundings with your lovely luscious plant behind you. I'm ashamed to admit that since our last conversation, I promised you that I would repot my cramped little plant, but it hasn't happened yet.
Just send me your address. I'm going to ship you a pot on Amazon.
I will tell you,
there's
a good reason why I haven't been able to do it. I can pick it up here. He's so cramped, he actually holds onto the pot, and I just could not get him out. So you might have to send me a crowbar. You might have to send me a crowbar along with a new pot, but we're working on the problem. In a few moments, we're going to have Arvind's deep dive interview with Seth Godin, a globally recognized thought leader and best-selling author across the last 2 decades in the marketing world. Arvind, can you set this one up for us?
Yeah, Stuart, the number one spoken about use case for artificial intelligence today, especially generative AI, has been marketing, right? And to be able to talk to someone who has such a rich background in marketing and over 20 years of experience being a thought leader, it's going to be fun. I'm absolutely looking forward to this conversation. I think Seth Godin's interview is something that I'm hoping will set a milestone for us in our podcast.
Absolutely. I can't wait. But before we get to that, let's look at a couple of important stories about AI that have been in the press recently. Our first story is from Forbes and looks at how to embrace AI across the marketing mix, so relevant to today's interview. Some of the main ways the article cites that AI can assist are working on consumer behavior analytics, creative content generation, and customer personalization. According to a report by Movable Inc., 95% of marketers see AI as the key solution for improving strategy across these areas and more. Specific ways they see AI helping are automating menial tasks, enhancing personalization, optimizing campaigns, all of which inevitably can improve job satisfaction and customer experiences. Arvind, sounds great. What do you think is the best way to adopt and integrate AI across marketing?
So the holy grail of marketing, Stuart, for a long time has been how can you get the right product to the right customer at the right place, at the right time, and at the right price point, right? The 4 Ps of marketing. And AI can actually help in all of that. But the key thing that I think the key philosophy or the mindset that people need to adopt is don't try to fit AI into the processes you have today. Rather, look at how AI can reshape your entire marketing process and redesign the process based on the new technology. It's a very powerful technology. And I'm borrowing this from one of the thought leaders in our think tank, right? He wrote a report called AI Welcome to the Team. It can be found on our think tank website, where he talks about this idea of redesigning your entire process with AI in the center rather than try to force fit it, because today most marketing processes have been designed for static websites. Marketing processes have been designed for humans. No marketing process has been designed for artificial intelligence. So I think the provocation for marketing folks is, given that you now have this new amazing technology, can you reshape the entire marketing process itself? Can you look at the 4 Ps differently? That would be the provocation.
Interesting. The Forbes article argues that marketers are being incentivized to really adopt AI very actively due to the phasing out of third-party cookies. Arvind, how can AI fill that void?
Yeah, and that validates what we just spoke about, Stuart. With AI, the reason you need third-party cookies is because websites are static, right? And through third-party cookies, they try to understand your behavior. But artificial intelligence is dynamic. It can have a conversation with you. Tomorrow, if you're trying to understand what type of shoes best fit your feet, or what type of shoes are going to be more eco-friendly, or what type of shoes are going to give you better performance when you're running, when you have a conversation with generative AI, it has the ability to draw information from the conversation to make recommendations for you, personalizing that particular conversation and product, versus websites can't do that today. So that's why looking at AI more holistically and trying to think about how can I rethink marketing because of AI would be the right way to go. And absolutely, the phasing out of third-party cookies, AI starts to play a really dominant role, right? Though privacy is something you have to pay attention to, but anybody who's deploying AI responsibly will be paying attention to privacy.
And speaking of privacy, that brings us to our second article, which drills even deeper into the future of marketing with a look at several AI-related panels during this year's South by Southwest Festival. One big topic was the idea that AI tools are now switching from a supporting role to a leading role, potentially leading people to feeling overly monitored and analysed. So Arvind, how can we balance the powerful capabilities of AI with the need for privacy?
We spoke in the last article, you also spoke about personalization, right? And today, the new word in marketing is hyper-personalization.
Right.
And what's interesting for me is that personalization and privacy are paradoxical, isn't it? Like, if you want something hyper-personalized to you, you got to be open to giving away some information about you. Otherwise, how can someone hyper-personalize something for you? So the very idea that something is, if you want something hyper-personalized for you, you have to be willing to share some information about yourself. And so there is a paradox there, right? And the way I see people and companies handling this today, I see several approaches. One is people are giving you the ability to opt out. So some people are open to sharing more data, some people are less. So you have the ability to opt out. The second way companies are dealing with this is they're trying to anonymize the data itself, right? The third way companies are dealing with this is through new technologies. In fact, Lab 45, where Think Tank has been founded, is working on a really interesting platform called Dice ID, which is a decentralized identity platform. And through decentralized identity, you can anonymize the data. You can anonymize your personalized data. So that's another approach, right, towards balancing privacy and personalization. And of course, the last approach to this is for companies to deploy AI responsibly, right? Today I seem to be confusing the word responsibility with responsibly.
Easily done.
I'm not sure what's going on with my words today. But yeah, if companies deploy AI responsibly, I think our responsible AI expert in one of our podcasts framed it really well, right? She said, think with care. I think it was Dr. Rachel Adams, where she said, think with care, right? So even when you're deploying marketing strategies with AI, do it responsibly, right? And as consumers, understand what data you're giving up and understand the trade-offs of hyper-personalization.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those situations where some people will willingly give data for that kind of hyper-personalization. Some people are a bit more reticent to do so. I guess we're just in that sort of learning phase, aren't we?
Correct. And actually, one more thing that comes to mind, Stuart, is one of the new concepts that's been worked on the idea is that each of us will have our own personalized AI agent. An AI agent that will work with us, that will help us plan our lives, plan our schedules, communicate. And I'm wondering if that concept could help safeguard some of our data. Could that personalized agent anonymize some of your data and safeguard your identity? I'm not sure, right? This is something we'd love to explore.
Arvind, can you tell us a bit more about today's interview? What will you be focusing on?
So I'm going to unpack how AI could transform marketing with Seth Godin. And we're going to get his viewpoints on this particular subject. He's a subject matter expert and a domain expert in the area of marketing, and I'm really curious to understand how he sees AI and its role within this space.
Great stuff. Let's get on with it then. So here's Arvind's deep dive interview with Seth Godin. Our think tank focuses on researching emerging technologies that will shape your future. From generative AI to exoskeletons, we study the impact these technologies will have on business, humanity, and our planet. And through our podcast, newsletters, and social media content, we have a direct line to a truly global emerging technology community. So if you'd like to find out more about the impact these technologies will have on your business, then reach out to our team at lab45thinktank.com.
So welcome to another episode of Unpacked. Today is a very special episode. The latest trend and hype and disruption from generative AI stems from the concept of large language models. And the primary premise of large language models is that they now have shown the ability to communicate like humans, with humans, and interact with humans. So this could have a profound effect in the world of marketing, communications, advertising, etc. And clearly, everybody is discussing this. To unpack this topic, I have a very special guest in our podcast. He actually doesn't need a lot of introduction. The work that he's done and the volume of work he's done speaks for himself. The author of numerous, almost 21 bestsellers today, starting from The Purple Cow to the book on marketing. He is considered the guru of this particular field and has been recognized by Times, Forbes, various numerous reputed institutions, and is well known in the business world as the guru of this area. Please join me in welcoming Seth Godin. Seth, fantastic. Lovely to have you on our show.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Phenomenal. So, Seth, the advertising industry, interestingly, I just looked it up today. It's about $600 billion market. And if you look at it in the last 10 to 15 years, the entire digital economy, the companies all of us know and admire, Google and Facebook and Meta or Amazon and Instagram and YouTube, they're all built on this economy, the advertising economy. And it's a very successful business model. I want to start by asking you, a lot of business leaders confuse marketing and the advertising, right? So maybe you can start by clearing that up for us. What is marketing? What is advertising? Would love to hear your point of view on that.
That's a perfect place to start. And thank you for having me. If you hadn't asked that question, I was going to answer it anyway. In 1965, advertising and marketing were the same thing because there weren't that many channels for information. If you bought enough ads, you could make enough money to buy more ads. And all the marketing department did was buy ads. And that's the way that they were seen. This has shifted in so many ways. First of all, the companies that you mentioned that are built on advertising, none of them run any ads. And the reason they don't run any ads is they don't need to. That marketing is not how you hype what you do anymore. Marketing is what people say about you. Marketing is the network effect. Marketing is the promises you make and the ones you keep. Marketing is user experience. Marketing is anything that touches the market. Advertising is a small subset of that. Advertising can be divided into two categories, direct and brand. Brand advertising is the kind of advertising that we think of when we think of Coca-Cola. It's spewed out to as many people as we possibly can. It's unmeasured and it's unactionable. You don't know why someone's buying the vodka. You just knew you bought a bunch of ads and later you sold a bunch of vodka. Direct marketing, which was named by my friend, the late Lester Wunderman, is measured action marketing. It is clicks. It is where 100% of the revenue of Google comes from. It is, I ran an ad, it cost me $1, I made $3. And the reason that Google in particular generated so much profit is because once someone buys an ad for $3 that makes them $5, their budget is now infinity. They will buy all the $3 ads they can find if each one makes them $5. That is the magic of direct advertising and direct marketing. So my focus is on all the marketing that isn't about advertising, because I think advertising is in a death spiral and is sort of banal. The other kind of marketing, who am I here to serve? What is the change I seek to make? That is part of the human condition.
Wow. Who am I here? What am I here to, and who am I here to serve, and what am I going to make? I'm going to pick a snippet of your book, The Purple Cow, Seth, where I think you articulate this. Oh, there you go. You articulate this concept. And I want to read one statement you made, and let's talk about it. Create safe, ordinary products and combine them with great marketing. This was the old rule, right? The new rule, you say, is create remarkable products that the right people seek out, right? So what I want to ask you is, today, fast forward after you've written this book, in today's day and age, do you think you would now combine the two statements where you would say create remarkable products that the right people seek out and invest in great marketing? Or would you still stick to that original statement?
Well, okay, so my statement is that creating great, remarkable products is great marketing. That is what marketing is. That if you build something that sells itself, you've still done marketing because you had to design something that people wanted to talk about. So, 21 books in a row, I have run basically no ads because the books themselves do the work of selling them. That when we think about an institution the scale of yours, you didn't get there by buying full-page ads in Time magazine. You got there because happy clients got you more happy clients. And that's what marketing is. So I don't think most products benefit from spending a lot of money interrupting strangers. I don't think most products benefit by buying search engine ads. I don't think that's necessary if you found the right audience and something that's worth talking about.
Amazing. I really hope people understood that distinction. So, Seth, in that world where you build remarkable products and people come to you and seek you because of the remarkable products you build, is there a point in that world where you actually have to start advertising? Or when does that advertising part actually come in?
Well, I think the first question is, what is the appropriate scale? And if we're living in a Milton Friedman, you must maximize shareholder value at all costs and creative destruction, that argument is scale needs to be infinite. And I don't believe that. I think it's better to be the right scale and to be able to do the work that you're proud of than to say I have to stretch into a bigger scale. The second part, though, we need to talk a little bit about Rogers' product adoption lifecycle, which is that famous bell curve. The people who buy a new innovation at the beginning are only 2.5% of the market. They're people who are buying things because it's new. They're geeks. They don't even care if it works. They're the people who just bought that AI pin that everyone says doesn't work very well. The step after that are the early adopters. They like new things that work really well. They don't need advertising. Maybe they need a bulletin. Maybe they need you to show up at a trade show or alert them with a newsletter, but they're not picking their products by watching the Super Bowl. They are looking for something. Then the question is, where does the next group of people come from? The next 33%. It is tempting to believe you can jump the chasm by just running a lot of ads to reach those people, because 33% is a lot. In my experience, that's not how it happens. In my experience, the early adopters who loved what you made told their friends. So if you think about how is it or when did you buy an iPhone, most people I talked to did not buy an iPhone the first day. They didn't even buy it the first year. But when they bought one, they didn't buy one because they saw a commercial on television. They bought one because their friends had them. And so it's only after that group that we can make the case that more aggressive brand marketing, advertising, direct marketing is what you need. But if you try to skip the early steps, what you're basically doing is saying, I have more money than taste. I'm going to spend money on advertising rather than spend time and effort on marketing. by making something that people will wait in line for.
Amazing. So let's take that framework and let's talk about the two parts, Seth. The first part is making remarkable products and what you define core marketing. And then second part is once you hit that early adopters and the early majority of 33%, and you want to get to that really mass mainstream scale, that's when you start you start thinking about advertising. And so let's break that framework in two parts, and let's talk about both parts today with respect to artificial intelligence, right? So let's talk about making remarkable products that people seek out. Such an amazing topic. And if anybody has not read The Purple Cow yet, I highly recommend that you read it. So Seth, do you think artificial intelligence as it is today, does it have a role in helping make remarkable products?
Okay, so let's talk about AI just to set the stage. I worked with Arthur C. Clarke, with Isaac Asimov, with Ray Bradbury, with Michael Crichton at the beginning of my career. I've been reading science fiction for a very long time. And I took PhD level courses in AI at Stanford in 1983. So I've been in the middle of this for my whole life. And one of the definitions of artificial intelligence is everything a computer can't do yet. So when computers could play chess, people said, yeah, but they're not really artificially intelligent. Well, I think skeptics are looking at what happens when you confront an LLM, and they're coming to the inescapable conclusion that the only way to deal with it is by imagining that there's a little person inside who's talking back to you. But that little person is stupid, and they don't know anything. They are simply doing probabilities and guessing within a range what the next best letter, word, phrase might be. They don't know anything. So what good is it? Well, a steam shovel can dig a ditch without getting tired. It doesn't know what it is to dig a ditch. But now all of a sudden there's a ditch after the steam shovel is done. And the same thing is true with AI used properly. It doesn't have to know anything to be of use. And where people get stuck on the AI and marketing thing is they think that marketing is spam, and they decide that AI is a really useful spam tool. And in fact, it is, but spam is a trap. So you can easily program AI to generate millions and millions of emails that feel a little bit like they came from a person, that feel a little bit like they are personalized. It's just a spamming tool. But you can't put AI in charge of developing features, services, insights that your service or product offers and expect that you're going to get good results. What you can do is ask it to iterate for you. You can say, here are the 5 things I've come up with for what a product like this could do. Please give me 15 more. It's really good at that. And you can discard 4 of them and you'll still have 11 left. That you can say, here is my 5-page marketing plan. Compared to every other marketing plan in the world, please highlight the contradictions and the ideas that I've missed. It's really good at that. If you are not using AI as that sort of intern / clerk / assistant / brainstorming partner, you are wasting a lot of your time. It's really good at that. But then we will come face to face with the problem. And the problem is either you're going to do what's been done before, or you're going to do something that might not work. And nothing remarkable is something that's been done before. That art is when we lean into a project, a problem, and do something that might not work, and do it on behalf of our customers. That is hard. So AI couldn't have told me that I should launch my book Purple Cow in a milk carton, which was not easy to do. And even when I figured out that it was worth a try, it was very frightening. It was months of spending money and time to do something that I wasn't sure going to work because no one had ever done it before. And it's that feeling that bureaucracies exist to stamp out. And if you want to make remarkable products, AI can't help you with that. You're just going to have to look your boss in the eye and tell him the truth.
I love that. It's reassuring to know that our ability to derive meaning from things and give meaning for things distinguishes us from artificial intelligence, right? In the example you gave of the shovels and digging a ditch, it is humans who give meaning to what that is and how it impacts us, and AI can't do that yet. So, Seth, this is great, and we will dive a lot into this area of spam and how AI is being used there and how it's going to be used going forward. But before we do that, I want to come back. I want to stay a little more on this topic of building remarkable products and how important it is to have human intuition in there. One of the things that the technologists may argue on this topic is that more and more artificial intelligence is showing that it can understand context, right? That's the whole reason why today ChatGPT has become so popular, because when you talk to it, it's starting to understand context. And so the theory, at least today, is that in the next 5 to 8 years, all the AI pundits say that we may reach a point where AI has artificial general intelligence, where it can solve a broad set of problems and have general human intelligence. And for example, they're looking at, when you look at the mRNA test on the COVID vaccines, in order for them to test the vaccine, understand the different permutations and combinations, they used AI because it could compute infinite permutations and combinations. And there could be an argument that sometimes those ability to compute those combinations could lead to new forms of innovation that we haven't thought about before, right? So in that, if you have that context in the future, do you see it as a companion, at least for humans, to create these remarkable products? Starts with human intuition, but how would you see that progress?
So my college philosophy professor died a couple of days ago. His name was Dan Dennett. He was one of the most famous philosophers in the world. And Dan wrote about the intentional stance. What the intentional stance says is the easiest way to understand a dog is to imagine that inside there's a little person. He's doing that because he wants so-and-so. Well, he doesn't want anything. He's a dog. And we do the same thing with the computer. It's not doing that because it wants you to click over here. The computer doesn't want you to do anything. So I take exception to your statement that AI understands anything. It doesn't understand anything. But the easiest way for us to deal with it is to act like it understands something. And that distinction is important, because when we're talking about art, which is what remarkable products and services are, it will never understand the way we understand. What it will do is, using combinations and statistics and inferences, propose variations that may very well solve a problem. But the hard work is going beyond the output of an A/B test. It's said that if you A/B test a website long enough, it will become a porn site. Because if you just keep optimizing for clicks, that's just where it's going to take you. And you're never going to end up with something that isn't banal. And that is the challenge, that most of the people I know in marketing show up to do their job. They don't show up to make a difference. And doing your job says, show me the manual, I'll turn the crank, I'll turn the crank, I'll turn the crank, right? That it took a big idea for Avis Rent-A-Car to say, we're number 2, but we try harder. And then they've been turning the crank ever since for the last 70 years. It was a big idea to embrace the telegraph. But Western Union had the chance to buy the telephone patents from Alexander Graham Bell, and they said no, because that wasn't turning the crank. That was leaping. And AI can suggest leaps. It's already doing it. But somebody's got to leap. Someone's got to say, I'm putting my reputation on the line. Let's do that.
That's amazing. I hope everybody was inspired to start re-looking at their careers if all they're doing is figuring out how to grow the stock market by the few dollars that matter to most people. Seth, this is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Arvind, great interview as ever. Can you go through some of the things that you really learned here, some of the key points for the rest of us to maybe linger on and think about more?
Absolutely. First of all, what a pleasure, right, to have Seth Godin on our show.
Yeah.
And so many insights that he came out with. But also, Stuart, this reaffirmed for me how our show has so many diverse perspectives, right? I never went into this episode expecting Seth to talk about AI's early maturity within the marketing space. I was expecting him to be a lot more energized by what AI can do, but you can clearly see that as a creative, he still doesn't see how AI can add value, right? Versus on the other end of the spectrum are the technologists who are hyped about this technology and how much it can add value. And you can clearly see that spectrum where the creatives are a little skeptical and the technologists are absolutely bullish. And I think having those diverse perspectives in our show, I think is what makes our show valuable. And we don't edit it out. And we want to give our audience a balanced viewpoint so that they can decide where AI falls in that spectrum for them. Now, in terms of some of the insights that Seth spoke about, and I thought this was really a really nice way he framed it, is when you look at the adoption cycle of a product, you have the early adopters, you have the early majority, and then you have the late majority and the mainstream. And I think the key point that he brought out was in the early adopters and early majority phase, what marketers should be focused on is less about advertising and promotions and really more about product market fit. Because in that early phase, what you want to make sure is that your product and the market have a strong correlation and fit. And that's where you want to spend your investment dollars. Once you prove that, it's only when you go to the late majority, you start investing money in advertising and promotions, the traditional forms of marketing. And that's also where AI, he felt, could play a huge role, right? So that was Seth's viewpoint and a summary of his viewpoint, his ideas of how AI plays a role. I thought there was some validity to this split of how to look at it. Though the only thing that we are finding is that even in that early phase in establishing product market fit, we are seeing that AI could play a role, right? But it's an emerging area. Definitely in the later phase, AI clearly plays a role. In the early phases, in R&D, in product market fit, could AI play a role? I think this will emerge in the next year or two. But hope people enjoyed Seth's viewpoints here. And it was really awesome having him on our show. And if people haven't read it, go read The Purple Cow, right? Go read The Purple Cow.
Absolutely. Great guest to have on the show. A real milestone for us. So well done, Arvind, with Seth Godin there. Fantastic. And let me say now, as we come to the end of the show, thanks so much for everything you've done today.
Sure.
If you like our podcast, please like, subscribe, or tell a friend. I'm Stuart Black, and see you next time on Unpacked.